want to talk about your most recent work, a book called When All Else Fails, The Ethics of Resistance to State Injustice. What is the moral parity thesis?
Good. So the moral parity thesis is the claim that the conditions under which you are able to resist injustice conducted by a government official, even one acting in the capacity of their office, are exactly the same as the conditions under which you're allowed to resist me. So basically, there's one set of rules of self-defense and one set of rules for when you're allowed to use violence or subterfuge or deceit or other things to defend other people from injustice. And that same set of rules applies to government agents as it does to defense against civilians. They are one and the same. So government agents are not owed any greater so the reverse to that thesis, the thing I'm arguing against, is what you might call the special immunity thesis, which says that government agents, either when they're working within their office or not, or maybe just democratic government agents, but some government agents enjoy a kind of special immunity against resistance and actions to resist their injustice. So in that, like, if I were to try to kill you right now just for the hell of it because I'm having a bad day and I'm misbehaving, everyone thinks that you'd be allowed to defend yourself against me and that other people will be allowed to intervene to defend you against me. But most people think that if a police officer has a bad day and starts beating the crap out of somebody, that you just have to stop and let them do it. You can complain later, you can file, maybe you should get, should be a formal investigation, but you're not permitted to intervene violently. You're not permitted to lie to the government. You're not permitted to resist them, except under really extreme circumstances. And so the simple claim is just, whatever you can do in self-defense or in defense of others against anything that I, Jay Brennan, do, you can do against the U.S. president.
So Bernie Sanders was actually asked about, what do you think about all this excessive force that we see because of people with cell phones and whatnot? And he says that we need to his general response was, we need to act peacefully through the judicial system, and we also need to make sure we have training for the officers. So so maybe we shouldn't talk about resisting. We should talk about these other mechanisms for change. How does Professor Brennan respond to that?
I mean, I wish if I were faster on my feet, I'd change my guitar amplifier background to that meme that has like little girl going, "Why not both?" And then everyone picks her up. Because I think it's important we disambiguate two questions here. One is, what's the best mechanism for stopping a systematic problem? And the other is, what's the mechanism for stopping this particular problem right now? So imagine you take the case of there's evidence that say college fraternities have an unusually bad drinking culture that leads to an excess of date rape. And then imagine a guy's about to date rape a girl, and she thinks about violently resisting him because he's using violence against him. And then imagine Bernie Sanders shows up. I'm not saying he would say this, but imagine he sends up and says, "Hold on, there's this whole problem of rape culture and date rape culture and a systematic explanation for why these sorts of behaviors take place. If we want to fix fraternity culture, you punching this guy and running away isn't going to fix that. All it's going to do is maybe make him more violent in the future for perhaps. And what we really need to do is shut down fraternities or reform them or have better education and have a better kind of civic culture that eliminates rape culture." He could say all that stuff, and if he's talking about what does it take to fix the systematic problem, it will require probably systematic changes. But that doesn't mean that you have to suffer the injustice at that moment, or that you have to permit someone else to suffer that injustice. If you want to fix police officers as a whole, then shooting this particular police officer is unlikely to do that. But you're not obligated to suffer the consequences or permit someone from committing an injustice just because it won't fix the systematic problem. She would be justified in resisting rape. You would be justified in resisting arrest or resisting the excessive violence or whatever else it might be.